Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 50th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we're going to see how we can insert data in a SQL table using Python. So in the last tutorial we created a database called Python, and in that database we also created a customer table. So I'm going to first show you guys the structure of that table. So I'll go to my MySQL environment, and here you go. You can see that the name of the table is customer, and it has all these fields. It has ID field, which is of integer type, name field, which is of varchar type, email of varchar, city of varchar, and then age of integer type, gender of character type, and last visit of date type. So I'm going to put in a few rows in this table, and each of these fields will have a value, right? So I'll go to my Python shell, and as you can see, I've already imported the mysql.connector module, and I've created a connection object. And this time in the parameter list for the connect function, I have also specified the database name, because I know that I want to connect to the Python database, because that's a database in which our table is present, right? So on the next line, I've created a cursor object, and I've given it the name myCursor, and I've used the cursor function for it. So as I said in the last tutorial, to execute SQL code, you have to use the execute method, right? So I'll type in myCursor dot execute, and then within parentheses I'll type in my SQL code, and again I'll get in three double quotes, because I know that the insert into statement is going to span over at least 2 lines. So I'll type in insert into, and then the name of the table, which is customer, and then I'll follow that up with the keyword values, and then I'll go to the next line, and I'll get in the opening parentheses for putting in the values. And the first field was ID, and it's the primary key of the table, so for each row it needs to get a different value. So let's say for the first customer, I want the ID field to have the value 1. Next was the name field, and let's say I want to call my first customer Jack, right? And next was the email field, so let's say Jack's email address is jack@gmail.com. and next was the city field, so let's say Jack lives in London. And next was I guess the age field, so let's say Jack is 25 years old, and Jack is a male, so M for gender. And let's say Jack's last visit was on 17th February 2014, so I'll get in the year first, and then the month, and wait a second, am I typing it the right place? Yeah, and then the date, which is 17th February. I'll get in the closing parentheses, and then 3 triple quotes, and then the closing parentheses for the execute function. And let me make sure whether I have everything in place, and seems good. So I'll press the enter key, and the values have been pushed to the buffer, and they haven't yet been flushed to the table, and we'll see what we have to do to actually save these changes in the database. But before we talk about that, let's create a few more rows in the table. So let's say I want to have another row with ID 2, and let's say the name of my second customer is Jill, and let's say Jill's email address is jill@gmail.com, and let's say Jill is from New York, and let's say Jill is 22 years old, and she's a female, and her last visit was on 19th February 2014, right? And I'll press the enter key, and again let's have one more row, and I'll change the ID value to 3, right? And I'll change the name to John, so let's say John is my third customer, and John's email address is john@gmail.com, and let's say John stays in New Delhi, and let's say John is 26 years old, and John is a male, and John's last visit was on 24th February, right? Now to force these changes in the database, you have to execute the commit method, and you have to call it using your connection object. So I'll type in CONN, follow that up with a dot, and then commit, COMMIT, and a set of empty parentheses. And when I press the enter key after typing in this, my changes have been saved to the database. And now there are 2 ways in which you can check out whether these rows have been inserted to your table or not. The first and the easier way is to go to your MySQL workbench, and you can simply execute the query select star from customer, right? And when I execute this, I see that I have these 3 rows with the values that I supplied in the Python shell. and you can do the same thing. You can execute the same query in Python shell, and that's what we're going to do now. So I'll execute the my cursor.execute function, my cursor.execute, and then within parentheses I'll type in select star from what is the name of the table, customer, right? And I'll press the enter key, and next I can use the fetch all method to see the results. But the fetch all method returns a list, right? And the list has individual rows as tuples, as list items. It has tuples that contain data for individual rows, and it is kind of let me show you guys how it looks. So I'll use a print function to see it, and I'll type in my cursor dot fetch all, and when I press the enter key, I see this list, and it's hard for me to tell which value is in which row. I mean, I can see that a tuple is starting here, and then it's ending over here, and then you have a comma, and then you have the second row. So when you have too many rows, it's kind of difficult to read text in this way. And it would obviously be much more convenient for us if we could see each of these rows on different lines. And you can do that by iterating over individual items in this list, that is each row, and then using the print statement to print each row separately. So we're going to do that using a for loop. I'll type in for, and before that I'll have to execute this query again. Next, you'll have to create a list variable in which you're going to store the result of this query, right? So I'll type in my list as the name of that list variable. I'll use the assignment operator, and then I'll type in my cursor dot fetch all, and when I press the enter key, now the results of this query have been saved in the variable mylist, and now I can iterate over the items in this list by typing in for, and a dummy variable for my loop, I'll call it x, in the name of the list mylist, and a colon to get inside the body of for, and then print, and then within parentheses I'll simply type in x, and when I press the enter key, I see that each of the 3 rows is displayed on a different line, right? So this is obviously much more neat and convenient. So that's it for now. In the next tutorial, we're going to check out some more SQL code, and I hope you guys are having fun in this course, and you may subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Till then, take care.